J.C. Jackson wants Jalen Ramsey money, and he may be able to get it because the Patriots reportedly don't plan to use the franchise tag on J.C. Jackson. Well, I'll believe it when it doesn't happen. This is the thing that is odd to me about the process of using the franchise tag, Chris. They create a 2-week window for it. You don't need a 2-week window. You need 1 day. 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. 1 day, that's when you apply the franchise tags. Very rarely do we see tags get applied early. Sometimes it happens because teams want to send a message to other teams, hands off at the scouting combine. Don't even bother talking to player X's agent because he's already been tagged. But that didn't happen this year. The first tag we heard of comes courtesy of the Kansas City Chiefs via ESPN. Orlando Brown will be tagged. Not a surprise. They traded for him just a year ago. You don't want him to walk out the door as a free agent after you've just traded for him. So $16.5 million roughly what he'll make on a 1-year deal. It gives the Chiefs time to try to work out a long-term contract. The deadline is July 15. Otherwise, the player can only play under a 1-year contract. So we know he's tagged. But back to J.C. Jackson. Kind of a surprise that the Patriots aren't willing to tag him. We don't know whether or not they're willing to pay him, but they're going to have to compete with everybody else if they don't tag him. And they already got rid of Stephon Gilmore. We thought when they got rid of Gilmore, that meant they were going to keep Jackson. Maybe they keep neither.
I mean, I guess they're calling us bluff a little bit, right? You know, I guess they don't want that 1-year huge chunk on their salary or on their payroll, to where they'd like to, okay, go ahead, shop yourself around and come back to us, and they'll see if they can match or make something long-term work that makes sense for, you know, the yearly salary cap hit there. But like, here's the first off, on social media, I look at it, a lot of people are like, that's crazy. J.C. Jackson wants Jalen Ramsey. What are you talking about? It is not. What the hell is everybody talking about? You mean the guy that's got like more interceptions than anybody in football over the last 4 years? I mean, you mean the guy that's like plays man-to-man more than any other corner in football? I mean, look, wasn't it during the playoffs when who were the DBs? Darius Slay was texting during the playoffs. Who was that? It was like, man, New England, all they do is play man-to-man every play. Nobody was more pressure on their corners than the New England Patriots. J.C. Jackson is one of the best corners in the sport. Yeah, is he Jalen Ramsey? I don't know. In a lot of ways, I think his man-to-man coverage skills are every bit as good as Jalen Ramsey. I do. I mean, this is a guy that they didn't let Stephon Gilmore float down the river because they thought J.C. Jackson was chopped liver. They went, wait, this guy is legit number one corner. We need him. We don't have to pay Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson at the same time. You know, you want to compare to other people in the market, right? You want to look at it that way. Marshawn Lattimore is making $19.5 million a year. I'm taking J.C. Jackson over Marshawn Lattimore. I'm taking J.C. Jackson over Tre'Davious White, who's making 17.2. Not even close in that department, in my opinion. So he is worthy of that contract. That is real. And I would think that he gets something close to that in the market, and it's bye-bye New England Patriots.
Did you intend to make a rhyme there when you were saying they wouldn't have sent Stephon Gilmore down the river if they believed J.C. Jackson was chopped liver?
I totally did not. That
good.
That rolled off the tongue nicely, but I did not mean to do that.
Here's the other reality, too. Jalen Ramsey got his 5-year, $100 million contract while under contract with the Rams. You maximize your earnings by becoming a free agent. First day of free agency, strike it rich. It happens every year. There's always going to be teams that have money to spend. They want to create some buzz. They want to renew season tickets. They want to take attention away from other sports teams in their market. It's part of the business of football. We'll worry later whether or not the guy can play. For now, let's hold up that Jackson jersey. We got one of the best Patriots players. Here he is. It's easier to get maximum dollars if you can hit the open market unfettered. That's why the franchise tag is not a good thing for players. It never has been. It never will be, because it keeps the player from getting the payday, the potentially generational wealth that he's already earned. It delays it by a year. Then it delays it by a second year. And maybe by the time you get to the point where you can finally force your way to the market, the rest of the market doesn't care. But I think they'll line up for J.C. Jackson if he's available. There's already talk about maybe the Chargers going after him. There'll be teams that go after J.C. Jackson if they truly don't apply the franchise tag, Chris. We'll find out by 4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. Maybe the Patriots are just messing with us. We'll find out whether or not they follow through on their plan to not do it.
No, you're right. But, you said there's a team that makes a lot of sense right off the bat. I mean, Brandon Staley, we talked about him. We talked about they need more DBs with the way they play. I mean, they have a lot of money to spend. There's a need for a guy like J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson can do it all. He really is. He's a phenomenal zone corner. He can play shutdown man-to-man. He didn't have his best year last year playing man-to-man, but still makes a ton of football plays. And they put him in a ton of tough situations. You know, again, for my money, I look at it, Jalen Ramsey, Marlon Humphrey, Lattimore, Jair Alexander, Xavier Howard, J.C. Jackson. Those, to me, are the top names in the sport when it comes to guys that can cover, you know, the elite receivers. I think that's the cream of the crop of those guys I just mentioned right there, which means, you know, he deserves to be paid in that range as the top corner in the sport.
And, you know, the other reality with Jackson, last year when he was a restricted free agent, they only used a second-round tender, and he got no interest whatsoever. I thought someone, when they applied the second-round tender, someone would happily give up a second-round pick to try to snatch him away from the Patriots. It didn't happen. But if he walks into the open market, unrestricted, he may get better than Jalen Ramsey money by the time it's all said and done. We mentioned Orlando Brown. Reportedly, the Chiefs are tagging him. Davante Adams, we expect the Packers to apply the franchise tag to Davante Adams. They haven't made much progress on a long-term deal. And then the question becomes, if they tag him, does he get an extension before July 15? Here's something I want to point out. And I remember when Davante Adams did his current contract late in the 2017 season. Actually, after the regular season was over, the Packers didn't go to the playoffs that year. That was one of the years that Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone.
Right.
They were done. The hay was in the barn. The season was over. His contract was over. The injury risk was completely off his shoulders. He did a long-term extension instead of waiting to see whether or not they apply the franchise tag. That was a mistake then, and it makes it a more glaring mistake now because he'd be getting tag number 2 for his career. Once you get tagged twice, you're never getting tagged again as a receiver because it's quarterback money.
Right.
If you get tagged a third time. If he had forced them, if his agent had said, let's not do this deal now, let's wait until after they tag you. If they do, if they don't, you're a free agent. You can hit the open market. But if they tag you, that's tag number 1. Then when this 4 years ends, they tag you again, that's tag number 2. They're never tagging you again. Nobody's ever tagging you again after that. And that's important to Adams because he'd be 1 year away from the market, the open market, if he had done that 4 years ago. Now they could tag him twice and then let him walk away. And he's got to be close to 30 now. They could just decide they're going to tag him the next 2 years and then let him go. And you're not going to get the money that you would get on the open market if you were able to hit it right now, Chris.
No, definitely not. You know, again, do they want to treat somebody like that again? You know, disrespect another great player on their football team like they just did to Aaron Rodgers and now do that to Davante Adams? You know, I would think they want to make things warm and cozy with him. You know, one, if Rodgers does stay, of course, it's the number 1 target in the guy. But even if Rodgers leaves, you still want to look into your fan base and go, wait, we still got Davante Adams, and we're still got a real team here that's special. I mean, but this is going to be big money to re-sign Davante Adams, of course. I mean, his numbers are gigantic the last 2 years. He's definitely one of the best wide receivers in football. You know, yeah, I mean, is he my cup of tea at the receiver position? No, not necessarily. You know who I like. I like the Jamar Chases and Deebo Samuels and Tyreek Hills and those guys of the world a little bit more. But this is a special player, and they're going to have to pay him, you know, somewhere in the $23, $24, $25, $26, $27 million a year. What's Hopkins' average per year salary right now, Mike, right? Wasn't it around
27 new money. That's 27 new money. But that was a deal that was done without an expiring contract.
Right.
It gets funky when you're talking about an extension versus a contract from scratch. Nobody's close to $27 million on contract from scratch.
No. But at the very least, the next guy's down, I believe, if I remember correctly, or like Julio, right, around 21 or 22. Keenan Allen was around 20, if I remember right from last night. So then, you know, you add that, Davante Adams certainly in that class, if not better than those guys right there. So that's a big number, definitely. And I would think at some point they figure it all out.
I haven't heard this.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't heard that this is possible. But would it be crazy if Davante Adams gets tagged by the Packers and then it's Rodgers and Adams to the Broncos together for whatever they give up for Rodgers plus whatever they would give up for Adams? And They get to go to their next team. They get to continue. Adams gets his payday from the Broncos, is still playing with Aaron Rodgers. That would be something if that happened. Now, they probably have to give back Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, right. Cortland Sutton,
you gotta
maybe
replenish.
something.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Definitely.
But man, if the Broncos could come out of this with Rodgers and Adams, that would be something.
It would be. They're definitely. I mean, I'm sure Aaron Rodgers would love that. That would, again, that goes into our theme of, him being warm and cozy and having people around him that he trusts and understands. I get that, definitely. But I have a hard time thinking Green Bay is going to let that happen. Hey, we might lose Rodgers. It ain't going to be a good look if the Denver Broncos next year are in the playoffs and tearing it up with Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. The Green Bay fan base is going to go, what the hell? We let both of our best players out the door, and here they are kicking butt for another football team right now. I don't know. I don't know if they could swallow that, but I think because of the Rodgers situation, it puts extra pressure on them to make this Adams thing work in Green Bay.
And we would be rooting very, very zealously for a rematch of Super Bowl 32 or 33? 32.
That was
Packers Broncos.
Yeah, 32.
32.
Right. That was 32. Yeah, that was a good
Broncos
one. One of my favorite Super Bowls ever.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.